All right, deep divers, welcome back. Buckle up because today we're going deep on a collection of sources that's pretty diverse, to say the least. We've got music trivia, some tech tips, even a little steamy relationship advice. Oh, and a touch of ancient history and a modern mystery organization thrown in for good measure.
It never ceases to amaze me how these seemingly random topics, when you put them together, can reveal some really unexpected patterns. I'm excited to connect the dots with you and see what we can come up with.
Okay, so let's kick things off with something that really caught my attention. There's this article, 10 songs artists found impossible to recreate.
Yeah.
And the top three on the list, Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, Metallica's Master of Puppets, and, well, any album by the Traveling Wilburys. I mean, come on, talk about legendary music. But what is it that makes these so hard to pull off live?
You know, each song presents a unique challenge. Let's start with Bohemian Rhapsody. It's more than just Freddie Mercury's phenomenal vocal range. It's the complex harmonies, the layered vocals, the whole operatic structure of the song, the way it shifts tempo and moves through all these different sections. It's like trying to recreate a sonic tapestry on stage. You need incredible precision and a whole lot of talent to even attempt it.
Yeah, no kidding. I can actually vouch for that. I once tried my hand at Bohemian Rhapsody at karaoke, and let's just say it was a humbling experience. I have so much more respect for anyone who even tries to sing that song now.
And then you have Master of Puppets, which is a completely different animal altogether. The power of that song comes from its raw energy and that iconic guitar riff. And believe it or not, that riff was actually a happy accident. Kirk Hammett apparently messed up a string bend while recording, and it created this haunting, almost demonic sound that just became the song's signature.
It's wild how a mistake can become such an integral part of a song. Talk about a happy accident. And then there's the Traveling Wilburys. I mean, what a lineup. George Harrison, Bob Dylan, Tom Petty, Roy Orbison, and Jeff Lynne. Sadly, with the passing of some members, a reunion is just impossible. It really was a one-of-a-kind blend of talent and chemistry that made their music so special.
It's like trying to recreate lightning in a bottle. Sometimes those things just happen and you can't force it. And speaking of things you can't force, how about we move on to some tech tips that might help us get a little more organized in our increasingly chaotic lives?
Right. That sounds good. I know this article about maximizing your Apple Calendar really resonated with me. I have to admit I'm a bit of a calendar chaos monster myself, but I was super intrigued by those tips about setting specific time zones. That's a total game changer for anyone who travels a lot. And tagging events for better searching. Finally, a way to find that one meeting you're looking for in a sea of appointments.
Those are definitely good time savers. But the tip I think is the most helpful is using the notes section strategically. It's like adding keywords to your life. Imagine you could just search for Project X and boom, all your relevant meetings, deadlines, even brainstorming notes pop right up. It's like a searchable database for everything in your life.
Wow, that's kind of blowing my mind. I'm definitely stealing that idea. All right, so from calendars and time management, let's move on to a topic that might make some of our listeners blush a little. We've got a few sources on love, sex, and relationships, including one that gets into some pretty creative positions.
Well, while exploring new positions can definitely add some spice to a relationship, it's important to remember that truly fulfilling intimacy goes beyond just the physical. It's about emotional connection, open communication, really understanding each other's needs and desires.
Absolutely. There's another article here, 7 Habits for Incredible Sex, that really digs into that. It talks about building trust and that sense of safety and vulnerability and just being truly present with your partner.
Exactly. And since we're talking about being present with your partner, we also have a source here that tackles a common relationship challenge: mismatched libidos. It can be a sensitive topic, but one that a lot of couples deal with.
Oh yeah, no doubt. It's not all fireworks and grand gestures, even in the steamiest of relationships. The article suggests that, like most relationship issues, open and honest communication is key here.
It's all about finding solutions that work for both partners, whether that's through schedule intimacy or finding other ways to express affection or just simply understanding and accepting each other's differences.
So true. Now, how about we shift gears a bit from matters of the heart to matters of the mind? Well, the creative mind, I should say. I came across an artist page that really captivated me. This artist, John Sarkin. His work is this incredible blend of words and images, really personal and visually powerful. And what's fascinating is that he developed this style after a brain injury.
Oh, yeah. Sarkin's story is so inspiring. He didn't let this traumatic event define him. He actually embraced the new ways his mind worked after the injury. It's a great example of how creativity can come from unexpected places, even from adversity. It makes you think about how our own experiences, both the good and the bad, have shaped our own creative expression.
It really does. Now, everyone, brace yourselves because we're going to dive into a true crime story that brings up some unsettling questions about violence in society. We've got an article here detailing the case of a suspect in a healthcare CEO shooting, Luigi Mangione. And what's really striking is that he claims to have worked on the video game Civilization VI.
This case is disturbing on so many levels. It really forces us to think about the bigger issue of violence in society and all the complex factors that contribute to it. We actually have a source here that explores the motivations behind these types of actions from a religious perspective. It suggests that sometimes these acts stem from a misunderstanding of faith and a lack of true atonement.
It's a heavy topic for sure. And the suspect's alleged connection to gaming just raises more questions about, what role media plays in our lives and its potential impact, especially when it comes to violence. What are your thoughts on the ethical side of gaming and the influence of these virtual worlds?
It's a complex issue, that's for sure. And there are no easy answers. Gaming can be a source of entertainment, it can connect people socially, and there's even research showing potential cognitive benefits. But on the flip side, we have to be aware of the content we're consuming and the potential for desensitization to violence. It's a conversation that needs to involve everyone, from parents and educators to game developers and, of course, the gamers themselves.
Totally agree. We need to find that balance where we can enjoy the positive aspects of gaming while also being mindful of the potential risks. All right, how about we take a trip back in time now? Let's explore a fascinating discovery from ancient history.
Sounds good. Oh, this one's amazing. We have an article here about the discovery of a young man's brain tissue that was turned to glass by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. It's a chilling reminder of just how powerful nature can be and how fragile human life really is.
It's like a morbid time capsule, giving us this glimpse into those final moments of life in Pompeii. And the process is called vitrification. Basically, extreme heat melts and then rapidly cools material, in this case, human tissue. It's fascinating and kind of creepy at the same time.
It is. It's incredible what we can learn from these ancient remnants. And speaking of learning, how about we turn our attention to a modern-day mystery that's been captivating everyone, DOGE.
Oh yeah, DOGE. This organization is like a ghost. It seems to be involved in everything, from government shakeups to major technological advancements. It's like a real-life conspiracy thriller unfolding right before our eyes.
DOGE has definitely made a big splash on the world stage, but their true motives and how they operate are still a complete mystery. Articles like how DOGE cracked Washington and Elon Musk says upgrade of FAA's air traffic control system is failing suggests they're involved in everything from politics to technology.
And Elon Musk seems to be right in the thick of it, too. We have a source that claims Musk and Trump have been in talks about Fort Knox lately, even hinting at a possible visit to inspect the gold reserves. What is going on here?
It's a curious development, to say the least. Fort Knox, with all that gold, represents American economic power. And then you factor in Musk's involvement with DOGE and his well-known interest in cryptocurrency, and it just adds another layer of intrigue. Are they planning some kind of financial maneuver, or is there something else going on entirely? Who knows?
It's like peeling back the layers of a global onion, and every layer just reveals something even more surprising. Okay, I need to take a break from all this DOG-fueled paranoia. How about something a bit more lighthearted, like, I don't know, a supermassive black hole hurtling towards the Milky Way?
Oh, right. The cosmic drama just never ends. There's an article here detailing this impending encounter, though it does say that it's still millions of years away.
It's a relief.
Yeah.
I was about to start building my underground bunker. But seriously, how do scientists even detect something like that? It's just mind-blowing.
They use incredibly sophisticated telescopes and complex calculations to track the movements of these celestial objects. The discovery of this specific supermassive black hole, which is located in the Large Magellanic Cloud, was actually made possible by the European Space Agency's Gaia mission. It's been mapping the Milky Way in incredible detail with an accuracy we've never seen before.
It's amazing how much we're learning about the universe, even while we're trying to figure out the complexities of our own world down here. And speaking of complexities, we have this heartbreaking story about a high school graduate in Connecticut who is suing because she says she can't read or write.
It's a stark reminder of the inequalities that still exist within our education system. The student claims she didn't receive adequate support throughout her schooling and that officials didn't address her learning needs. Her mother is also speaking out, hoping to prevent other families from going through the same struggle.
It's a powerful call for accountability and a reminder that every student, no matter their background or their learning challenges, deserves a quality education. We need to do better.
We absolutely do. Now, how about we shift gears to something a bit more, well, delicious? I found this article about planning a romantic dinner date at home. It's all about creating a memorable evening with what they call the 10 Commandments for culinary seduction.
Ooh, tell me more.
Yeah.
I'm always up for a little romance, especially if it involves good food. What are some of these commandments?
Well, it's not just about following specific recipes, although they do suggest a rustic bruschetta and a nice, simple but elegant salad. It's more about creating an ambiance, warmth, connection, really enjoying each other's company, and of course, the food. Think candlelight, soft music, that kind of thing.
That sounds lovely. Food really can be a powerful way to connect with someone.
Absolutely. Now, from a romantic dinner for two, let's talk about something a bit more adventurous. A singles ski trip, specifically designed for finding love. It's organized by a dating app called Thursday.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a recipe for both romance and disaster all rolls into one. Skiing, flirting, trying to find love on the slopes. Count me in. Although I'm not sure my skiing skills are quite up to par.
Well, the writer definitely had an unforgettable experience, that's for sure. It just goes to show that sometimes you have to step outside your comfort zone to find adventure and maybe make a connection. And hey, maybe a few bruised knees along the way.
That's the spirit. Speaking of stepping outside your comfort zone, this next article is both hilarious and a little terrifying. It seems like Duolingo, the language learning app, is invading Roblox to haunt players who keep skipping their lessons.
It's a brilliant marketing campaign, really. It plays on that guilt we all feel when we neglect our language goals. Duolingo's mascot, that little owl named Duo, is famous for its persistent reminders, and now it seems they've taken it to a whole new level.
Apparently, Duo is popping up in Roblox games, trying to nudge players back to their lessons. I can't decide if it's genius or just creepy.
Maybe a little bit of both, but it definitely shows how creative brands are getting with technology to engage their audience. And it's a reminder that even learning a language can be gamified in the digital age.
Speaking of gamification, remember that true crime story we talked about earlier? The one with the healthcare CEO shooting suspect who claimed to have worked on Civilization 6. It brings us back to that question of gaming's role in society and its potential influence on behavior.
It's a complex issue, as we touched on before, and it's really important to have these open and honest discussions about gaming's impact, especially when it comes to violence and aggression. We need to strike that balance between enjoying the benefits of gaming and being aware of the potential risks.
For sure. Okay, this next one is, well, informative and maybe a little TMI. I came across an article titled, "Stop Wiping Immediately," says anal surgeon.
Oh, I have to admit, that title caught my attention. What's it about?
It sounds a bit out there, but the article argues that the way we typically wipe might actually be doing more harm than good. It can lead to irritation and even some health issues down the line. It also cautions against using wet wipes too often because it can disrupt the natural balance of bacteria and, well.
Well, that's certainly not something you hear every day. It makes you wonder what other everyday things we might be doing wrong without even realizing it. But hey, that's the beauty of a deep dive like this. You never know what you're going to learn.
Exactly. Okay, ready for a brain workout? How about we dive into the world of quantum computing? It's a field that's both fascinating and has the potential to change the world as we know it.
Oh, quantum computing. Definitely fascinating stuff. It's basically harnessing the principles of quantum mechanics to perform calculations at speeds that are way beyond what traditional computers can handle. We have a source here about Microsoft's Majorana 1 chip, which uses a completely new type of superconductor. It's a breakthrough that could lead to even more powerful and scalable quantum computing systems.
Wow, that sounds incredibly complex. But for those of us who aren't physicists, what does it all actually mean? How will this technology impact our everyday lives?
The potential applications are just enormous. Quantum computing could revolutionize so many fields like medicine, material science, even artificial intelligence. Imagine we could develop self-healing materials that can repair cracks in airplanes, or even create catalysts that break down plastic pollution. The possibilities are almost limitless.
That sounds like a future I'd like to be a part of. Using quantum mechanics to solve global problems, that's incredible.
It really is a testament to human ingenuity. And speaking of ingenuity, let's shift gears to something that's, well, close to both of our hearts. The power of words.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
We have a source here that makes the case that reading fiction can actually make men more attractive. The idea is that reading fiction helps men develop their emotional intelligence, improves their communication skills, and makes them more empathetic. And those are all qualities that, well, let's be honest, are pretty attractive.
You're preaching to the choir here. I've always been a big reader, and I secretly suspected my love of books might give me a little edge.
Well, it seems like there's some truth to that suspicion. But beyond the dating game, reading fiction has so many benefits. It expands our imaginations, it introduces us to new perspective, it helps us understand the complexities of human nature.
It's like a workout for your brain, but way more fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so from the power of words to the power of images, we have this collection of hilariously absurd comics by an artist called Mooseylips that I just had to share.
Oh, I love Mooseylips.
Yeah.
Their work is full of quirky characters and unexpected twists. It's a great reminder that you can find humor in even the most absurd situations. And speaking of absurd situations,
I know exactly what you're going to say. Flaxseed Botox.
flaxseed is having a moment in the beauty world, that's for sure. It's being touted as this natural alternative to Botox, with claims that it can hydrate the skin, improve texture, even reduce wrinkles.
And the source even has a DIY flaxseed face mask recipe. Apparently, you boil the seeds, strain them, and then slather this gooey mixture all over your face. It sounds a bit messy, but hey, they say beauty is pain, right?
Right. Or at least a little sticky. It just shows how interested people are in natural beauty remedies. There's a real desire for gentler alternatives to harsh chemicals or those invasive procedures.
Okay, from natural beauty back to the world of political intrigue. Get ready for this one. Apparently, Elon Musk's mom has been spotted at multiple DOGE meetings.
Mae Musk. You mean the successful model and dietitian? Attending meetings of this secretive organization? That's definitely unexpected.
Right, it's almost like a family business, with Elon running the show and his mom lending a hand. But what is she doing there?
That's the million-dollar question. Some speculate she's there to offer nutritional advice to the DOGE elite, while others think she's involved in their public relations efforts. It just adds another layer of mystery to the whole DOGE saga.
This DOGE situation feels more and more like we're trapped in a spy novel. Someone needs to get to the bottom of this. Okay, before we get too lost down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, how about a story that's both surprising and, well, thought-provoking? Apparently, the capital of New Hampshire is adding Satanists to their nativity scene to avoid being sued.
It's a fascinating example of the clash between religious freedom and the separation of church and state, that's for sure. It seems like the city of Concord decided to let the Satanic Temple participate in their holiday display to avoid a potential lawsuit.
It really raises questions about what counts as religious expression and how to navigate all these different belief systems in a public setting. It's a tricky issue with no simple answers.
It definitely highlights how important open dialogue is, finding ways to make space for all these different perspectives without compromising our core values.
For sure. Okay, from religious displays to the world of tech innovation, I came across a product page for the CMF Phone 1, and it's got this unique, interchangeable design.
Oh, I've heard about that. It's a testament to how innovative the tech world is, constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible in terms of both design and function. It seems like smartphone makers are always trying to come up with something new to appeal to all these different needs and preferences.
It looks like the CMF Phone 1 is going after those who want to personalize their phone and express their own style.
Yeah, it reflects this larger trend of customization that we see with a lot of consumer products now. People want something that reflects their individuality, and tech companies are responding with devices that are all about personalization and self-expression.
And speaking of self-expression, check this out. There's this company, Wood Handcraft, and they make these gorgeous handmade camera bags, backpacks, even watch straps.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. It just shows how appealing craftsmanship still is, even in today's world. In a world of mass production, there's something really special about owning something that's been made with care, by hand.
Absolutely. The wood and craft stuff is definitely for people who appreciate attention to detail. It's functional and stylish.
It's a nice reminder that traditional skills and the beauty of handmade objects still have their place, even with all the digital advancements we're seeing. Now, how about we take a detour into the world of politics? There's an article here detailing Kevin McCarthy's, let's just say, eventful journey to becoming Speaker of the House.
Oh, yeah. His rise to power was quite the roller coaster ride.
That's an understatement.
Yeah.
His close ties to Donald Trump and his willingness to appease the far-right factions within the Republican Party have made him a really polarizing figure. This article talks about his clashes with other Republicans, how he's been navigating the political landscape, and the challenges he's facing trying to lead a House that's so divided.
It gives you a little peek behind the curtain of American politics, and it shows how complex these power dynamics can be in such a partisan environment. It also reminds you that being a leader often means having to make difficult choices, compromise, and navigate all these competing interests.
Absolutely. And speaking of navigating a complex landscape, let's talk about open source software. I came across a page about Open Broadcaster Software, or OBS, which has become super popular for live streaming and recording videos.
Oh yeah, ODS. Isn't that popular with content creators and gamers?
Exactly. What makes it so great is that it's open source. That means it's really flexible and customizable, making it a great tool for a ton of different things. This page talks about all its cool features. It can work across multiple platforms, you can capture video from different sources, and you can customize the interface to your liking.
It's incredible how open source software can empower so many people to create and share their work.
It really speaks to the power of collaboration and making technology accessible to a wider audience. And speaking of accessible technology, check out this paper about Infinite HIP. It's a framework that can extend language model context up to 3 million tokens on a single GPU.
Okay, that sounds super impressive, but I'll admit I'm a little lost on the technical side. Can you break that down for me?
Sure. Basically, what Infinite HIP does is it solves a problem that large language models have when processing really long strings of text. You can think of it as giving AI a much bigger memory to work with, which could lead to AI systems that are more sophisticated and can understand context better.
So like AI that can actually understand us and respond in a way that's more human-like. That's exciting, but also a little intimidating, isn't it?
It definitely is a field with huge potential, but it also comes with ethical considerations that we can't ignore. Now, let's move from the digital world to something that's becoming increasingly important in our tech-driven lives: cybersecurity.
Yeah, cybersecurity is just getting more and more important every day as our lives become more intertwined with technology.
You're right. I actually found a video about how to become a cybersecurity analyst, and it talks about how much demand there is for these professionals. They're the ones protecting all our digital infrastructure.
Wow, so what kind of skills do you need to do that kind of work? It sounds incredibly challenging.
The video talks about that too. It shows all the different tools and techniques cybersecurity analysts use to detect and prevent cyber attacks, and how important it is to keep learning and adapting, because this is a field that's constantly changing.
It makes you realize how crucial it is to protect our data and systems in the digital age.
It really is, and it takes skilled people who can stay ahead of the curve to make that happen. Speaking of staying ahead of the curve, there's this movement gaining a lot of traction that's all about pushing back against Trump, Musk, and these proposed budget cuts.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a hot button issue. What's the latest on that?
There's a source here about Move On, a progressive advocacy group, and they're mobilizing their members to oppose these policies. They see it as a fight for, in their words, the soul of America, a fight against corruption, and a fight to protect vulnerable communities.
It's always inspiring to see people standing up for what they believe in, even when they're facing powerful opposition.
I agree. It speaks to the power of grassroots organizing and how important it is for people to be engaged and hold their elected officials accountable. And speaking of holding people accountable, this article about the Pentagon's plan to remove transgender service members under this new policy is really concerning.
This is a serious issue, and it's been met with a lot of criticism. What are the main arguments against it?
People who oppose this policy argue that it discriminates against transgender individuals and weakens our military readiness. It's a reminder that the fight for equality and inclusion is still ongoing. We need to protect the rights of all individuals, regardless of their gender identity.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, how about a break from all this serious stuff? I found this video about Dennis Hopper, the famous actor and director. He struggled with addiction and paranoia throughout his life. And this video focuses on a time when he was convinced that a hitman was trying to kill him.
Wow, that's a little intense. It's definitely a glimpse into the dark side of fame and what addiction can do to a person's mental health. It reminds us that even those who seem to have it all can struggle with their inner demons, and it's so important to seek help when you're dealing with mental health issues.
So true. All right, from Hollywood paranoia to something a bit more practical, we have this guide for premier virtual attendee users that offers tips for navigating online events.
It makes sense. Virtual events are becoming more and more common, especially since the pandemic. This guide has helpful advice for attendees, like how to create a good profile, engage with speakers and other attendees, and get the most out of networking opportunities.
It's a great resource for anyone who wants to navigate those online conferences, webinars, virtual career fairs, all that. It shows how the world of professional networking is changing. Speaking of changing landscapes, our next source takes us back to the 1980s and the golden age of home computing.
Oh, I love this, the Raspberry Pi 500. It's this compact computer built right into a keyboard, just like those classic home computers we used to have.
It's designed to be affordable and accessible, so it encourages people to learn about computing and programming.
It's a testament to how much people love retro technology, and it shows the effort to make computing accessible to everyone.
Speaking of accessibility, let's talk about transparency in government. There's this article about the push to audit the Massachusetts legislature, and it sparked a debate about accountability and how our tax dollars are being spent.
It's a good reminder that transparency and accountability are so important for a democracy to function properly. Citizens have a right to demand oversight of their elected officials.
Absolutely. Now, let's circle back to that mysterious world of DOGE for a minute. There's a video here that tries to answer the question, who's actually running this organization? Is it a group of super rich elites? A secret government agency? Some even say it could be artificial intelligence.
That's a scary thought. The video looks at different theories about DOGE and how they're impacting government policies, technological advancements, even international relations.
It reminds us that power can be hidden, and we need to be critical thinkers. We have to question the narratives we're given and always look for alternative viewpoints. Now, how about a story that's both heartwarming and thought-provoking? There's this video of a pastor challenging his congregation to not just talk about faith, but to actually live it out through their actions.
He argues that true faith is demonstrated by what you do, not just what you say. He challenges his congregation to live out their values of love, compassion, and service in their daily lives.
It's a powerful message, reminding us that faith is more than just a set of beliefs. It's a way of life.
It is. And speaking of ways of life, let's go back to that trend of natural alternatives to those expensive cosmetic procedures. Remember we talked about nature's Botox, which was flaxseed? Well, it seems like the internet is now obsessed with it.
It's amazing how people are looking to nature for answers to everything these days, from wrinkles to, health concerns.
It shows how much people are craving gentler, more holistic ways to approach health and beauty. Okay, back to politics for a minute. We have a news item that's causing quite a stir. It seems Trump has appointed a podcaster as the new deputy FBI director.
Wow, that's definitely an unconventional choice.
Yeah.
What's the reaction been like?
People have been pretty critical. A lot are questioning the podcaster's qualifications and pointing out potential biases, especially because they've been very vocal in their support for Trump and have controversial views on law enforcement.
It raises concerns about whether our law enforcement agencies are becoming too politicized. And speaking of concerning behavior, there's a video here of Trump throwing a tantrum because he thinks his trial is unfair.
It's classic Trump, isn't it? He always lashes out at anyone who criticizes him or questions his authority.
It just shows how much he hates being held accountable. All right, let's lighten things up a bit. This next video is absurd and disturbing all at the same time. It shows this Magellanic supporter ranting in a gas station about conspiracy theories and making all kinds of threats.
That's a bit unsettling. It's an example of how extremism and political polarization can lead to some really unpredictable behavior.
It's this dark reminder that words have power. Inflammatory rhetoric like that can incite violence and division. Speaking of division, there's this growing gender gap in political views that's become more and more apparent.
We have a video here with an interview with Anna Louise Sussman. She wrote the book The End of Babies, and she talks about what's contributing to this divide, things like different views on gender roles, economic inequality, and social justice issues.
It's a really insightful conversation that sheds light on how gender, politics, and social change are all intertwined.
Bridging that divide is crucial if we want to create a society that's more just and equitable for everyone.
I completely agree. Okay, from the political arena to the world of personal relationships. This next video is both informative and thought-provoking. It explores the challenges of pregnancy and how the female body is literally driving human evolution.
It goes deep into the physical and emotional toll that pregnancy takes on women and talks about the evolutionary reasons why human childbirth is so difficult. It really sheds light on the complexities of human reproduction.
And speaking of complexities, we also have a video that tries to offer advice on a classic relationship dilemma. should you get back with your ex?
It's aimed at helping people make that difficult decision.
Hmm?
It suggests asking yourself 5 key questions before even considering getting back together. Do you both understand why things went wrong in the first place? Are you both willing to change? Have you actually addressed the underlying issues?
That's good advice for anyone struggling with that decision. Relationships take work, you know? You need effort, communication, and a willingness to grow together.
So true. All right, how about a powerful message about standing up to tyranny?
I always love a good call to action. What's the message about?
It's a video of a pastor who draws inspiration from Timothy Snyder's book on tyranny. He encourages his congregation to be mindful of language, to read widely, and most importantly, to embody their values through their actions.
He's right. Resisting tyranny takes more than just words. It requires action, courage, and a willingness to stand up for what's right. Speaking of standing up for what's right, we have a video here that shines a light on a really concerning issue, Trump's immigration policies.
It shows the impact these policies are having on immigrant families. There are stories of people living in fear of being deported. It's heartbreaking.
It's a stark reminder of the human cost of these policies.
It is, and it's a call to action for everyone who believes in human rights and creating a welcoming environment for immigrants and refugees.
Okay, how about a break from the heavy stuff again? We have this great video that celebrates classic car culture.
I'm all for that. What kind of car is it?
It's a beautifully restored 1934 Ford Coupe, a Nailhead 34 built for the open road. Classic cars are just works of art. There's something so timeless about them.
It's a testament to the skill and dedication of the people who restore and preserve these automotives. It's amazing the skill and dedication it takes to bring those old beauties back to life.
Totally. Okay, ready to dive back into the mystery that is DOGE.
Always.
All right, so we keep finding all these hints about their influence, but who are these people? I mean, seriously, who is actually running this thing?
Right. It's like trying to nail down a shadow. But we did find a source that tries to get to the bottom of it. It's called Who Runs DOGE? Unmasking the Power Brokers. And it digs into their network, trying to figure out who the leaders are and how they're connected to all these influential people in, well, everywhere. Politics, technology, even entertainment.
It's almost like they're being deliberately shadowy, like they want to make it hard to figure out what they're really up to. It's enough to make you a little paranoid, honestly.
Okay.
But okay, let's switch gears for a minute. Enough DOGE talk. How about we go back to those natural beauty trends we were discussing?
Sounds good to me. It seems like everyone is looking for natural alternatives these days. It's great.
I know, right? We talked about flaxseed as nature's Botox earlier, but there's another natural ingredient that's making a splash. Spilanthes. Have you heard this?
Spilanthes, yeah. Isn't that also called the toothache plant? I think it has a numbing effect.
Exactly. And now people are putting it in beauty products. Apparently it's supposed to plump up your lips and reduce fine lines. I don't know if I buy it, but I'm always willing to try new things, especially if they're natural.
Yeah, I get it. It's good to be skeptical. But you can see why people are interested in this stuff. They want gentler alternatives, and natural ingredients feel safer. Speaking of being mindful of what we put in and on our bodies, I found this really interesting article about biohacking. Have you heard much about that?
Biohacking, yeah. It's like using tech and making lifestyle changes to kind of optimize your body and mind, right?
That's the idea. This article goes into different techniques they use, like intermittent fasting, cold exposure, even wearing devices that track your sleep and how active you are.
Right. It's all about taking charge of your health and pushing the boundaries of what your body can do. But like any trend, I imagine there are risks and ethical questions that come along with it.
Oh, absolutely. It's not something to jump into without doing your research. You don't want to mess around with your health. But okay, how about we go back to the world of AI for a bit? It's a field that's always changing, always pushing the boundaries. What have we got on that front?
This is a really interesting one. It's about emotionally aware chatbots. So these are chatbots that are designed to not only understand what you're saying, but also to recognize and respond to your emotions.
Wow, that's incredible. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
I know, right? It's kind of wild. The article talks about how these chatbots are being used in all sorts of areas, from customer service to even mental health support.
It really makes you think about the future of how we interact with each other, doesn't it? Will we end up relying more and more on AI for emotional support and companionship? And what about the ethics of creating machines that can understand and respond to our feelings?
It's a lot to think about, that's for sure. It seems like every time AI takes a step forward, there's a whole new set of ethical questions we need to grapple with. Okay, let's take a break from all that and shift gears to something that's a little more uplifting. I found a story that's all about the power of human connection, and it's so heartwarming.
I'm all for that. What kind of story are we talking about?
It's about this group of senior citizens who have formed a dance troupe and are competing in national competitions.
That is so cool. It's amazing to see people of any age embracing life and going after their passions.
I know. They're defying stereotypes and showing everyone that you're never too old to follow your dreams. And speaking of dreams, how about this for a dream job? A professional cuddler.
A professional cuddler, that's a new one. What does that even entail?
Apparently, there's actually a growing need for professional cuddlers. They provide platonic touch and companionship to people who are feeling lonely, stressed, or just need some human connection.
That's interesting. It makes sense, though. In today's world, we're all so connected digitally, but it seems like a lot of people are feeling more isolated than ever.
It makes you wonder if we're losing touch, literally, with the importance of human touch and, just being present with each other. But let's focus on something positive. How about the trend of community gardens?
Oh, community gardens are fantastic. They're such a great way to bring people together and create a sense of belonging.
I know. This article talks about all the benefits, from having access to fresh, healthy food to creating green spaces in urban areas.
And they create opportunities for people to learn about gardening, connect with nature, and get to know their neighbors. It's a win-win all around.
Absolutely. And speaking of win-win situations, let's get into a topic that's been generating a lot of buzz. Ethical investing.
Ethical investing, or socially responsible investing, as it's also called, is all about making sure your investments align with your values. It's about supporting companies that are doing good in the world.
Exactly. More and more investors want to know that their money is being used to make a positive impact, and ethical investing allows them to do that.
It's a good reminder that our financial decisions can make a real difference in the world.
You really can. Okay, I love this next one. It's about the power of music to heal and inspire.
There's something about music that just touches our hearts and souls, isn't there? It's a universal language.
Absolutely. This article tells the story of a music therapist who uses music to help veterans cope with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and other trauma they've experienced.
Music therapy can be so powerful, you know. It helps people process their emotions, reduce stress and anxiety, and find peace. It's a beautiful example of how art can heal.
Speaking of healing, have you heard about the growing popularity of forest bathing?
Forest bathing. Oh, you mean Shinrin-yoku. It's the Japanese practice of spending time in nature to boost your well-being.
That's it. This article talks about all the benefits like lowering stress and blood pressure, boosting your immune system, even improving your mood.
It's all about being present in nature, taking in the sights and sounds, even the smells of the forest, just letting yourself be immersed in it. It's amazing how restorative nature can be.
It really is. Speaking of restoration, how about we talk about art conservation? There are all these skilled professionals working hard to preserve our cultural heritage for future generations.
Art conservation is such a cool field. It's this amazing blend of science and art.
I know. This article highlights the work that art conservators do. They use all these special techniques to clean, repair, and preserve works of art.
It's really detailed and meticulous work, and you need a deep understanding of the materials and techniques that were used to create the artwork. The goal is to maintain the integrity of the piece, while also making sure that people can enjoy it for years to come.
Speaking of integrity, our next source brings up some big ethical questions about how we're using technology.
Technology can do so much good, but it's really important to use it responsibly and ethically.
Right. So this article is about the controversy surrounding deepfakes. Have you heard about these? Basically, they're videos that have been altered using AI to make it look like someone is saying or doing something that they never actually did.
Deepfakes are really scary. They're so deceptive, and they can easily be used to spread misinformation and ruin people's reputations.
It's a good reminder to be critical of what we see online, especially with everything being digital these days.
Yeah.
If something seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Absolutely. We need to be savvy consumers of information and develop those media literacy skills so we can spot fake content. Okay, how about we talk about something that's blurring the lines between the real world and the digital one? Virtual reality.
VR. It's changing so rapidly and has the potential to transform everything, from entertainment to education and even healthcare. What did you find on that?
This article talks about the newest developments in VR tech, things like immersive gaming, virtual travel, even training simulations that feel incredibly real.
It's amazing to think that VR can transport us to different worlds, let us experience things we never thought possible. I've even heard about people using it to help overcome fears and phobias.
It really shows how powerful technology can be for pushing our boundaries and connecting us to new experiences.
Okay, from the virtual world back to reality, let's talk about a trend that's all about simplifying. Minimalism.
Minimalism is all about living with less stuff and focusing on what really matters. It's about letting go of excess and finding joy in the simple things.
This article gives tips on how to declutter your home, how to simplify your life, and how to find more happiness in the things that truly matter.
It's about shifting our focus from material possessions to experiences, relationships, and personal growth.
It's a good reminder that true happiness doesn't come from the things we own, but from how we choose to live our lives. And speaking of living our lives to the fullest, there's this growing trend of solo travel that's really inspiring.
Solo travel can be such a rewarding experience. It allows you to travel at your own pace, discover new things about yourself, and connect with people from all walks of life.
This article talks about all the great things about solo travel and gives tips on how to plan a trip that's both safe and fun. It also emphasizes how important it is to step outside your comfort zone and embrace the unknown.
It's a great reminder that we're capable of so much more than we often give ourselves credit for.
So true. Okay, ready for a powerful topic? Let's talk about feminism.
Feminism is all about advocating for equality and justice for all genders. It's about recognizing that everyone deserves the same rights and opportunities, regardless of their gender.
This article looks at the history of feminism, the struggles that women still face today, and the progress that's been made.
It's a reminder that the fight for gender equality is far from over, and we all have a part to play in making the world a more just and equitable place for everyone.
I couldn't agree more. And speaking of justice and equality, we need to talk about racial injustice. It's a systemic problem that we're still grappling with as a society.
Racial injustice is such a complex issue, with deep roots in our history and culture. It's something we need to keep talking about and working to dismantle.
This article really digs into the systemic nature of racism and highlights what people of color experience on a daily basis in a society that's often stacked against them.
It's a call to action for all of us to be actively anti-racist, to confront our own biases, and to dismantle systems of oppression wherever we see them.
Absolutely. And on that note, let's talk about a movement that's gaining momentum and challenging the status quo. Socialism.
Socialism, at its core, is about social ownership and democratic control of the things we need to produce goods and services. It's an alternative way of organizing our society that's focused on fairness and equality.
This article goes into the principles of socialism and how it could create a society that's more just and equitable. It also addresses some of the misconceptions people have about socialism and its history.
It's a good reminder that we don't have to accept the inequalities and injustices of the way things are now. There are other possibilities, other ways to create a society that works for everyone.
Okay, let's shift gears to a philosophy that's becoming more and more relevant as we face climate change and environmental damage. Eco-consciousness.
Being eco-conscious means recognizing that all living things are interconnected and taking responsibility for our impact on the planet. It's about understanding that we're part of nature, not separate from it.
This article dives into the principles of eco-consciousness and gives practical tips for living a more sustainable life. Things like reducing our consumption, supporting businesses that are environmentally responsible, and just being more mindful of our choices.
It's about making choices that benefit both ourselves and the planet, finding ways to thrive without harming the environment.
Absolutely. We all have a role to play in protecting the planet for future generations. And speaking of future generations, there's this really interesting trend in education that's gaining traction. Mindfulness.
Mindfulness is all about being present in the moment without judgment. It's about paying attention to your thoughts and feelings without getting carried away by them.
This article talks about the benefits of bringing mindfulness practices into the classroom, like reducing stress and anxiety in kids, helping them focus better, and boosting their concentration.
Mindfulness can help children develop self-awareness and emotional regulation skills, which are essential for their well-being. It's a great way to help them feel calmer and more balanced.
It sounds like a valuable tool for supporting kids' emotional and academic growth. All right, let's talk about personal development for a minute. It's a journey of self-discovery and, always striving to improve ourselves.
I love that. Personal development is all about recognizing your strengths and weaknesses, setting goals, and then taking action to become the best version of yourself.
This article has some good tips on how to set realistic goals, how to stop procrastinating, and how to cultivate a more positive mindset.
It's about taking charge of your life, creating your own future, and becoming the person you want to be.
Speaking of creating the future, we have to talk about augmented reality, or AR. It's another one of those trends that's blurring the lines between the physical and digital worlds.
AR is really cool. It takes digital information and overlays it onto the real world, which changes how we see and interact with our surroundings.
This article talks about all the new AR technology that's out there, like interactive games and shopping experiences, educational apps that come to life, even navigation tools that make it easier to get around.
AR has so much potential, and it could revolutionize how we live, work, and play. It's another example of how technology can expand our horizons and connect us to new experiences.
Now, let's get real for a second and talk about the changing world of work, specifically the rise of the gig economy.
The gig economy is all about short-term contracts and freelance work, rather than those traditional permanent jobs. It's becoming a much bigger part of how people earn a living these days.
This article looks at both the good and bad sides of the gig economy. It's got pros like flexibility and independence, but it also has downsides like not having job security or benefits.
It reflects how work is changing, you know? People are having to adjust to new models of employment, and it's not always easy.
It's definitely a shift that we're all still trying to figure out. Speaking of shifts, how about podcasting? It's exploded in popularity recently.
Podcasting is amazing. It makes all kinds of audio content accessible to everyone on pretty much any topic you can imagine.
This article talks about why podcasting has become so big. It's accessible, it's convenient, and it connects you to new ideas and perspectives.
You can learn something new, be entertained, and stay up to date on what's happening in the world, all while you're doing other things. It really is a golden age for audio content.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a trip back in time for a minute and talk about a period in history that never ceases to fascinate: the Renaissance.
The Renaissance. It was such a remarkable time of creativity and intellectual growth in Europe. There was this renewed interest in classical art, literature, and philosophy that changed everything.
This article takes us through the key figures, events, and ideas of the Renaissance. Think Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, the invention of the printing press, the rise of humanism. It's all there.
It's a good reminder of how powerful human creativity can be and how much we can learn from the past.
Absolutely. Speaking of learning from the past and thinking about the future, let's talk about sustainability. It's becoming more and more important as we try to protect the planet for future generations.
Sustainability is all about meeting our needs today without messing things up for future generations. It's about finding a way to live in balance with the natural world.
This article talks about the principles of sustainability, like reducing our environmental impact, promoting social and economic justice, and just making more conscious choices about how we live our lives.
It's about creating a world where both people and the planet can thrive together.
Speaking of harmony, how about we talk about Taoism for a minute?
Taoism is an ancient Chinese philosophy that's all about living in harmony with the Tao, which is the natural order of the universe. It's about finding balance and going with the flow.
This article explores some of the main ideas in Taoism, like the concept of yin and yang and the importance of living a simple and balanced life.
It's a reminder that there's so much wisdom to be found in ancient traditions. We can learn a lot from other cultures and ways of thinking.
Speaking of learning from others and embracing different ways of thinking, multiculturalism is a trend that's becoming more and more important in today's world.
Multiculturalism is all about different cultures coexisting within a society. It's about embracing diversity and celebrating our differences.
This article highlights the benefits of multiculturalism. It can lead to more creativity and innovation, and it fosters understanding and tolerance between people from different backgrounds.
It's about creating a world where everyone feels valued and respected, regardless of their cultural background.
And speaking of feeling valued and respected, the fight for LGBTQ plus equality is an ongoing struggle that's so important.
The LGBTQ plus rights movement is all about making sure that everyone, no matter their sexual orientation or gender identity, has the same rights and opportunities. It's about fighting for acceptance, inclusion, and basic human dignity.
This article highlights both the progress that's been made and the challenges that still lie ahead.
It's a reminder that the fight is far from over, and we all need to keep speaking out and fighting for equality.
Okay, let's talk about activism. It's about taking action to create positive change in the world, whether it's fighting for social justice, protecting the environment, or advocating for a cause you believe in.
Activism comes in so many forms, from organizing protests to starting online campaigns. This article gives tips on how to get involved in causes you care about and make your voice heard.
It's a good reminder that we all have a voice and that we can make a difference in the world.
Absolutely. And sometimes the simplest actions can have the biggest impact. Speaking of making a difference, have you heard about all the benefits of volunteering?
Volunteering is such a rewarding way to contribute to your community and make a difference in other people's lives.
This article talks about how good it is for both the individual and society as a whole. It's about giving back, using your skills and passions to help others and make the world a little bit better.
Okay, let's talk about a concept that's gaining traction as people become more aware of the challenges we're facing, like climate change and environmental degradation. It's called degrowth. Have you heard about this?
Degrowth is a pretty radical idea. It challenges the idea that our economies need to constantly grow. Instead, it suggests that we need to reduce our consumption and economic activity so we can actually achieve ecological sustainability and make sure people have what they need to live well.
This article dives into the principles of degrowth and how it could lead to a more just and sustainable society. It's a pretty big departure from the way we usually think about things, but it's a really important conversation to have.
It definitely challenges the status quo, but it's a reminder that our current way of doing things isn't sustainable in the long run. We need to find ways to live that are fulfilling and also environmentally responsible.
I love that. And speaking of alternative ways of living, how about off-grid living?
Off-grid living is all about disconnecting from public utilities like electricity, water, and sewage. It's about being self-sufficient and relying on your own systems for everything.
This article explores the challenges and rewards of that lifestyle. You have to invest a lot up front, and you need to have some technical skills to get things set up. But the rewards are things like freedom, independence, and that feeling of self-reliance.
It's definitely not for everyone, but it's an interesting path for people who are looking for a more sustainable and independent way to live.
Speaking of skills that are becoming more and more important, let's talk about coding. It's a skill that's valuable in so many areas these days.
Coding is all about telling computers what to do, using a specific language they understand. It's what makes all this technology we use every day actually work.
This article talks about the benefits of learning to code, like all the job opportunities out there, and how it helps you develop problem-solving and critical thinking skills.
Coding is an essential skill for the 21st century. It allows you to create and innovate in a world that's becoming increasingly digital.
Speaking of pushing boundaries and innovating, space exploration is a field that never fails to inspire.
It's incredible to think about all the amazing things we're discovering about the universe and the amazing technology we're developing to explore it.
This article highlights all the latest advances in space exploration, from searching for life on other planets to building new spacecraft that can travel farther than ever before.
It's a reminder of how vast the universe is and how much we still have to learn. There are so many possibilities out there.
Okay, get ready for a mind-blowing concept. The multiverse.
The multiverse. Okay, now we're getting into the theoretical. It's the idea that there could be multiple universes, not just the one we live in. It's like a whole collection of universes, each with its own set of physical laws and possibilities.
This article dives into the scientific and philosophical ideas behind the multiverse. Could there be parallel universes out there? Are we alone in the cosmos? It's enough to make your head spin.
It's definitely a mind-bending concept that really pushes the limits of our imagination.
Speaking of pushing the limits of our imagination, have you been following the buzz about the metaverse?
The metaverse is this idea of creating a shared digital world where people can interact with each other and experience things in a whole new way. It's like a combination of virtual reality, augmented reality, and the internet, all rolled into one.
This article talks about how the metaverse could change our lives, like how we work, how we play, even how we interact with the world around us.
It's a glimpse into the future of human experience, and it's evolving so quickly, who knows what it will look like in a few years.
Okay, so let's talk about something that's both exciting and a little bit scary. Transhumanism.
Transhumanism is this idea of using technology to enhance human capabilities and overcome our limitations. It's about pushing the boundaries of what it means to be human.
This article explores the potential benefits and risks of transhumanism. Imagine being able to extend our lifespans, enhance our cognitive abilities, or even merge with technology. But it also raises ethical concerns about creating a divide between those who are enhanced and those who aren't.
It's a really fascinating topic that makes you question the very nature of what it means to be human.
Speaking of challenging traditional ideas about what it means to be human, let's talk about gender fluidity.
Gender fluidity is all about recognizing that gender isn't just a binary, male or female. It's about acknowledging that people can move between different genders or identify with multiple genders.
This article explores the experiences of people who identify as gender fluid and talks about the importance of respecting and affirming all gender identities.
It's about creating a more inclusive and accepting world where everyone can be themselves.
And on that note, let's talk about disability justice.
The disability justice is a framework that centers the lived experiences of people with disabilities. It's about challenging the discrimination and systemic barriers they face, and advocating for a world where they have the same rights and opportunities as everyone else.
This article digs into the principles of disability justice and why it's so important to create a world that's accessible and inclusive for everyone.
It's about recognizing the inherent value and dignity of every individual, regardless of their abilities.
Okay, from disability justice to animal liberation.
Animal liberation is a philosophy and a social movement that's all about recognizing that animals deserve moral consideration just like humans do. It's about fighting against the ways humans exploit and mistreat animals for food, clothing, entertainment, and research.
This article lays out the ethical arguments for animal liberation and shows the many ways humans are harming animals. It's a call to treat all living beings with compassion and respect.
It's a reminder that we share this planet with other species and that we need to be mindful of their well-being.
Speaking of compassion and respect, let's talk about something that's all about building bridges between people of different faiths. Interfaith dialogue.
Interfaith dialogue is so important in today's world. It's about creating understanding and respect between people of different religious traditions. It's about finding common ground and building relationships based on shared values.
This article highlights all the good things that can come from interfaith dialogue. It can help reduce prejudice and conflict, it can promote cooperation, and it can contribute to peace-building efforts around the world.
It's a reminder that we have a lot more in common than we often realize. We all want peace, love, and understanding.
So true. And sometimes the things that bring us together are our shared interests and passions. Speaking of which, let's talk about fandom.
Fandoms are amazing. They create communities of people who are passionate about the same things, whether it's a book series, a TV show, a band, or a video game. It's about finding your people and sharing your love for something together.
This article focuses on the positive aspects of fandom, like the sense of belonging and community it provides, and the way it encourages creativity and self-expression.
It's a reminder that shared interests can connect us to others in such a powerful way. It can enrich our lives and make us feel like we belong.
Okay, let's take a moment to breathe and talk about meditation. It's a practice that's been around for centuries, and it's becoming more and more popular in today's busy world.
Meditation is all about training your mind to be more focused and present. There are so many different techniques out there, but the goal is to cultivate a sense of inner peace and stillness.
This article talks about all the benefits, like reducing stress and anxiety, improving focus, and better regulating your emotions.
It's a great reminder that we all have the power to cultivate inner peace and find those moments of quiet amidst all the chaos of daily life.
Speaking of slowing down and simplifying, let's talk about slow living. It's a trend that's all about being more mindful and intentional about how we live our lives.
Slow living is about rejecting the idea that we always have to be rushing and doing more. It's about slowing down, savoring the moment, and appreciating the simple things in life.
This article gives tips on how to embrace slow living. Things like eating mindfully, spending time in nature, decluttering your home, and really prioritizing the relationships that matter most.
It's about creating a more intentional and fulfilling life.
Okay, let's talk about a movement that's gaining a lot of traction. The climate justice movement.
The climate justice movement is all about recognizing that climate change doesn't affect everyone equally. Marginalized communities are hit the hardest by its effects. It's about advocating for solutions that address both the climate crisis and social injustice.
This article explores the link between climate change and social justice and why it's so important to listen to the people who are most affected by the climate crisis.
It's about making sure that the solutions we come up with don't just benefit a select few, but create a more just and sustainable world for everyone.
Speaking of working together and finding solutions, let's talk about the sharing economy.
The sharing economy is a really interesting concept. It's based on the idea that we can share resources like cars, homes, and tools instead of everyone owning their own.
This article explores the benefits of the sharing economy, like reducing waste and consumption, creating a sense of community, and making things more affordable and accessible to everyone.
It's a reminder that we can often achieve more when we cooperate and share resources with each other.
And speaking of achieving more and pushing our boundaries, how about biohacking?
Biohacking is all about using technology and lifestyle interventions to optimize your body and mind. It's like taking control of your own biology and pushing the limits of what's possible.
This article explores all the different approaches to biohacking, like intermittent fasting, cold exposure, wearable tech, and even genetic testing. It can be a little controversial, but it's definitely fascinating.
It's about taking charge of your health and exploring new ways to enhance your well-being and push the boundaries of human potential.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, how about adventure travel?
Adventure travel is all about seeking out new and exciting experiences, often in remote or exotic locations. It's about getting out of your comfort zone and experiencing the world in a new way.
This article talks about the benefits of adventure travel, like building resilience, boosting confidence, and fostering a sense of awe and wonder about the world around us.
It's about pushing your limits and realizing that you're capable of so much more than you thought.
Okay, let's circle back to feminism for a minute. It's a topic that's always relevant, and there's always more to learn and discuss.
Feminism is an ongoing fight for equality and justice. It's about challenging patriarchal systems and advocating for a world where everyone, regardless of gender, has the same rights and opportunities.
This article takes us through the different waves of feminism and the fight for women's rights, like reproductive freedom and equal pay for equal work.
It's a reminder that we have to keep pushing for progress and working towards a future where everyone is treated with dignity and respect.
Absolutely. And speaking of creating a more just and equitable world, how about universal basic income? It's an idea that's been gaining a lot of attention lately.
Universal basic income is a policy proposal that would give every citizen a regular, unconditional cash payment. It doesn't matter if you have a job or how much you earn, everyone gets the same amount.
This article looks at the potential benefits and challenges of universal basic income. It could reduce poverty and inequality, create greater economic security, and give people more freedom to pursue their goals. But there are also questions about how to fund it and whether it would discourage people from working.
It's a complex policy, but it's an interesting idea that's worth exploring. It could be a way to create a society that's more just and compassionate.
I like that. Speaking of compassion, how about mindfulness? It's another trend that's becoming more and more popular, and for good reason.
Mindfulness is all about being present and paying attention to what's happening in the moment without judgment. It's a powerful tool for managing stress, reducing anxiety. Mindfulness is a powerful tool for managing stress, reducing anxiety, and just feeling more grounded and present in your life.
It sounds like a great practice for anyone who wants to improve their mental and emotional well-being. Okay, how about we switch gears to something a little more techy? I found an article about a new trend in the art world. People are creating death masks using artificial intelligence.
AI death masks, that's a new one. How does that even work?
Well, artists are using these AI algorithms to create images of people's faces, but like how they might look after they've died. It's a pretty interesting exploration of our mortality and the whole idea of time passing.
That's pretty deep. Art has always been a way for us to deal with those big questions about life and death.
It has. And these AI death masks make you think about technology's role in art. It's blurring the lines between what's real and what's simulated.
It's another example of how technology keeps evolving, and we're constantly having to adapt and think about its impact on our culture and our understanding of the world. Speaking of the world, let's talk about the Amazon rainforest.
The Amazon. It's one of the most biodiverse places on Earth, and it's so important for regulating our climate.
It's truly a global treasure. Unfortunately, this article highlights all the threats the Amazon is facing, like deforestation, climate change, mining, illegal logging. It's a lot.
It's heartbreaking to think about all the damage that's being done. It's a reminder that we have to protect these natural wonders for the sake of the planet and for the indigenous communities who call these places home.
We can't keep exploiting nature for short-term gain. We need to find ways to live in harmony with the natural world. Speaking of living in harmony, have you heard about the eco-village movement?
Eco-villages, yeah. It's like creating intentional communities that are designed to be sustainable in every way, socially, economically, and environmentally.
This article talks about the different ways people are approaching eco-village living, things like permaculture, using renewable energy, having shared decision-making processes, and really focusing on building strong communities.
It's inspiring to see people coming together to create these sustainable and resilient communities. It gives me hope for the future.
Me too. It shows that people are starting to wake up and realize that we need to live differently if we want to create a better world.
Well, folks, that wraps up another deep dive. We've covered so much today, from the Amazon rainforest to artificial intelligence, from human relationships to the possibilities of a more sustainable future.
It's been quite the journey. And it just shows that there's always so much more to learn and explore.
Exactly. We hope you'll keep exploring these topics, keep asking questions, and keep seeking out diverse perspectives. The world is full of wonder and possibility, and we're just getting started.
Here's to more deep dives and more discoveries.
Thanks for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration of all the amazing things out there in the world.